Hey everybody, I'm Zach and I like movies, and it's time for another entry into the Letterboxd Criterion Challenge for 2024. And today's prompt is prompt number 38, which was watch an animated movie. And I decided on the 1978 adaptation of Watership Down. This is an animated film based on the 1972 book of the same name by the great author Richard Adams. Now, and it is about a group of rabbits. If you haven't read the book or seen the movie, it's about a group of rabbits who uh, flee their home and adventure out to find a new one, and where they face community strife, they face danger and oppression, and contend with death being ever present in their little lives. Now, Watership Down is one of those revered works of literature that gives a gravitas and uncondescending seriousness to that isn't normally granted to little anthropomorphized animal creatures. Sure, it reminds me a lot of the Redwall series, if you ever had that in your as a kid, or even book movies like Don Bluth, The Secret of Nim. Very much in that vein, and even familiar to more recent modern classics like the Zootopia anti-abortion comic. Now, both the book and the film, especially the film, have a infamous reputation for being a source of many a childhood trauma. There is no apology given for depicting the harshness that all of these rabbits go through. And not to act like this, the reputation is undeserved, but I think it tends to overshadow like a lot of what the film and the story is doing, and kind of just gets kind of just tends to be the thing that people get stun locked on a lot. Like, oh, I saw this movie when I was a kid, and it scared me to death. But for my money, if you're looking for a Richard Adams animated adaptation to traumatize you, even as an adult, then I'm sorry, Watership Down has got nothing on the Plague Dogs. That movie is an absolute downer. Like, wow. Now, but to get into Watership Down, now, a lot of the things that it's doing is doing what a lot of stories about anthropomorphized animals do. They're telling stories of humanity using animals and using rabbits. And Watership Down is unique and very fascinating because it doesn't just give rabbits a sense of thought, these very human thoughts and society and communities, but they also give them mythology and tales of their own. And one of the prologue of this movie is it's like Watership Down lawn stain stories of the rabbit kind. It's the tale of Elorira, which I hope I pronounced that right. It sounds a little Gaelic. Now, this prologue tells a story in this lovely animation style. That's very starkly different from the rest of the film. It's sort of telling the story of this Herculean example of peak rabbithood that is also the origin for why rabbits are so far down the food chain. We see why the sun god, Lord Frith, has given the rabbits 1,000 enemies, because of this, because of the rabbit population would like overtake the rest of the animals, and Elorira himself was so proud and so boastful that it wound up being his downfall. But we also see that Frith gifted rabbits with speedy legs and trickery, and it leaves off with I think probably the best example of like what this film is about and what the story for these rabbits is. And Lord Frith tells Elorira this: all the world will be your enemy, prince with 1,000 enemies, and whenever they catch you, they will kill you. But first they must catch you. Digger, listener, runner, prince with swift warning. Be cunning and be full of tricks. and your people will never be destroyed. And thus begins the true story of Watership Down, which is about, our little group of rabbits. And it's a surprisingly strong cast of British talent. You have the legend himself, John Hurt, as ostensibly our main character rabbit, Hazel. They also have Richard Briers as his skittish little brother, Fiver. And one thing I can say as a negative to the film, and that you can kind of understand even when you read the book, even if you haven't read the book, is that characterization is mostly minimal. They're mostly here to just kind of like get a sort of broad idea of it. Like, we understand that Hazel is a gentle and kind, heroic lead, and Fiver is very skittish and very fearful, but kind-hearted too. And you also and they have the third rabbit named Bigwig, who compared to everybody else, every other rabbit in this film, he probably has the most like observable growth and characterization to it. He starts off as a guard rabbit, known as an Owsler, and he's very like a little quick to anger and a little impatient. But over time, we see how that turns into a strength to help guide and protect and defend the other rabbits. And it's all good. It's all good stuff. Nothing's like necessarily bad here, but there's just not that much meat to the characterization, which is something that Richard Adams spoke to after the film, and he does agree that the film does a good job adapting the story, but he doesn't think that those are his rabbits, because there's not much to them there, and that's sort of that benefit of that's a thing that's sort of the benefit of writing the story in book form. It's one of those adaptational things that get lost. Like, when you're illustrating, you can better illustrate how a character like Hazel is able to like quietly and think on their feet and see how they grow into a role as a leader when you're like giving them much more detailed thought. But in the animation, especially the animation that they're working with in Watership Down, the film, it doesn't come off nearly as strong. So you have Hazel and Fiver. They are two rabbits that are much of the sort of lower class of rabbits in this warren. And of course, the bigger rabbits are up top, where they have like a chief rabbit. And Fiver is sort of beset by sort of uncomfortable visions. Like he feels something bad is coming to the warren, and he looks out to the field and he sees it he envisions it just covered in blood. And when their warnings fall on deaf ears from the chief rabbit, they try the two Hazel and Fiver, they try to make an escape, and Bigwig comes with them and with a bunch of other rabbits. As they leave their warren, they pass by this big sign that reads out, "Oh, it's land development for a real estate plant. It's going, and so that their whole forest, that you just know their whole forest and their whole warren, that whole field is just going to be destroyed, or just by the actions of men." And how humans are depicted in this, they're very distant. They're distant, but they're also like you don't even see like a face. You only ever get like a shadowy silhouette or a voice just off screen, or even like hints at things that humans have. Like, they have a name for a car, or that they call a Hordern, and it's just it's just the noise that it makes as it passes by and like try and hopefully doesn't run down a little creature. And but you also have and from there they're on their journey to try to find a new home. You just know you're reminded again of the tale of El Harira, as he's like being beset by 1,000 enemies, and the 1,000 enemies are like everywhere, like they see an owl, like a doe, like one of the does in their group walks out to like just get some food, just like eat some grass, and an owl just like swoops in and takes her. Just they're gone now. Well, hardly a sound made. Or there's and they're trying to escape, trying to like run through a forest at night, and they're like, they're listening and just paying attention to everything because anything could potentially kill them. And this badger pokes its head out, and there's blood coming at it, blood in its teeth, and they know. But that's sort of how they know that they have a chance, because if it didn't have already eaten, they would have gotten him, and it would have been faster. And it's not just like other animals that they have to worry about. There's a very scary scene where like around midway in the film, where they come across this other warren that is oddly kind, in the sense that there's some bad vibes of this warren. Like, they seem the rabbits there seem welcoming, and there's a bounty of food that is given to them by a human, but they just sort of know that something isn't right here. It doesn't feel safe. There's this like the way that this warren is drawn out. By the way, the background art of this film is beautiful. These backgrounds are so lovingly detailed. You could probably just like walk in and live there. They're calming, but they're also oftentimes they'll be like painted with these dark brush strokes that like just give off this sense of like imminent death. And Fiver is like just completely, he does not want anything to do with this, and he was right to, because Bigwig, he gets caught in a snare. It's like this little wire that's like snaps around his neck, and it's a scary scene because not just because we care about Bigwig and we don't want to see the bunny get hurt, but like we watched him like just slowly start to die as he's like getting choked, and like you hear like you really feel the agony that he is in the way that he's choking and blood is frothing at his mouth. It's very uncomfortable. And when they get the snare out, he doesn't move, and they kind of fear that he's dead. And then Hazel says something that sounds like a prayer. He says, "My heart has joined the 1,000, for my friend stopped running today." And it's moments like that are peppered throughout that do hint toward that rabbit kind mythology and other folklore amongst the Warrens. But yeah, Bigwig survives that, thankfully. But that is far from the end of their troubles, because not long after that they get found by another rabbit from their old warren who's horribly beaten and scarred, and he tells them that the warren has been destroyed, and this scene has this very acid-induced scene in these very expressive colors and animation of like how the warren was like blocked off and like filled with gas, and like they couldn't get out, and like everyone was scared and like choking, and like it is probably one of the more emotionally visceral scenes because of how expressive the animation is, and it's just like you just feel the horror of it. of it. And I do, and again, it's not that the fear and the scariness of of scenes like this are unwarranted. I absolutely see how this movie is a great traumatize could be traumatizing for someone so young, but there's other it's not. They don't also have like the humans to contend to. They also have other rabbits to contend to because when they find themselves in their new home in the Watership Down, which is a real place, I hear. They realize they need does. They need more rabbits, because otherwise they'll you know unpopulate. Like there will right and they try to find they have to kind of fight off against this other warren known as Ephrathah, that is effectively ruled under a dictatorship. This rabbity dictatorship where like the smaller ones are prisons and scouts are like held off, and like ones that try to run away or get captured, and they get like disfigured and scratched and like their ears clawed at and it's all under the tyrannical rule of a rabbit known as General Woundwort, this mean looking old thing that's like blind in one eye and bloodshot in the other. Like it's a very scary looking rabbit, and he has the muscle to back it up, and like again moments where Woundwort is fighting off against like Bigwig and like truly giving terror to the other rabbits. But it is harsh because like they're just these small rabbits, but they're so vicious. And Woundwort chief among them is an absolute monster. Just when he's voiced by Harry Andrews, who just he's so you just feel the deviousness of him and just how bloodthirsty and power hungry he can be. And it's not that, and like I said before, it's not that any of this fear is unwarranted and the terror that you feel watching it. It's just that it's those moments of darkness that make the bright scenes shine that much brighter. Like this, like when they finally find the Watership Down and they get there and they see the land stretched out among them and the music is soaring. It's a beautiful scene. It's these moments that make the hardship of fighting off fierce enemies like Woundwort all the more worth it, because the happiness and joy and life they feel in Watership Down is worth the fear. And I think that's what's so great about Watership Down as a film. It doesn't shy away. It doesn't just want to pass. It's a family film, but it's not one that is meant to just pacify the children and just kind of give them, just pat them on the head and tell them everything will be fine. No, there is danger. There is fear. There are things to be afraid of, but it's coming out of that fear and understanding that yes, death is present in our lives, but it's not, and it is something you should be afraid of, but it's not something that should command their lives. It's a strong, and it teaches a good, strong lesson of mortality, that life will have dangers, and there is harshness, and it will be violent, and it will be not nice, but it makes our moments of kindness and of levity just so much more powerful once you come out of that. And I think it's wonderful. And even if there are moments that, and again, there are moments of real levity. There's like they have this they come across this seagull, the seagull who kind of speaks in this weird broken English, like from big water, My home big walker, wave, go, key hard. Or, yeah, this silly sounding seagull named Kihar, who was actually voiced by Zero Mostel, who you probably recognize most as the man who played opposite Gene Wilder in the original Producers film. he's an absolute delight, and there's other like very gentle scenes, such as a scene that a musical interlude that is played where they play this song Bright Eyes that's sung by Art Garfunkel, and admittedly, it is a nice song, but that is admittedly one of the movie's more dated aspects. Like it just screams like late 70s, early 80s. But that's Watership Down. It's definitely dark, but it's dark in that sense that, again, like I said before, it's dark in the sense that it's uncondescendingly serious. It does treat you treat the reader's feelings about it, no matter how young they are. They treat the readers and the viewers' emotions seriously. They take, and they want you to feel that fear. They want you to they don't just want you to feel that fear. They want you to understand the fear, and treat that fear as something that is worth fighting through. Because again, it's that warmth, it's that brightness that makes that is worth fighting through that fear. I'm probably repeating myself by now, but it's a marvelous film. I had the DVD in my hand, but I don't have it now. Damn, it's wonderful, and I think it really inspires me to read the book. It inspires me to like read other books quite like it. I have to go back and reread Redwall. Haven't had that since I was a kid, and that's Redwall. I think that's all. I'm sorry, that's Watership Down. I think that's all I have. I think that's all I have to say about it here, and absolutely recommended. It's definitely worth your time. It's still worth getting scared of. I think if I had to recommend any movie similar to that, outside of like what I said, like The Secret of Nim and The Plague Dogs, another movie I would probably give a similar sort of vibe to it, and more recently I think would probably be Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs. That's a movie that kids can watch, but it's not really for kids. That's another movie that kind of does similar things with like how danger does feel very real and very it makes the danger and the adventure kind of one and the same, but also again very worth it. And again, I very much recommend Watership Down itself. It's I thought it was great, and definitely try to get Plague Dogs. Actually, you can actually watch not only watch this through Criterion. You can actually watch both this film and The Plague Dogs free on YouTube right now. I will link them both in the description of this video. And I think that's all I got. And I will see you later for the next Letterboxd Criterion Challenge. And I'm Zach. I love movies. I have a lot more movies to watch, and I hope you watch them too. And I will see you all later.